my name is Jenny Yu, and I am in currently San Francisco, California. I am caring for currently my mother. She is 74 today, and she was a traffic violence victim. She was struck by a moving vehicle, and from that crash, she suffered TBI, traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder, and signs of Alzheimer and suicidalness. It will be 14 years in February. The crash happened in February of 2011. I think the caregiving life didn't really start until 5 months after her crash, because after the ICU, the critical condition, the unit, she did go to I call it professional rehab, where she was in the hospital for rehab for a while, and then she was released to do at-home rehab. And it really wasn't until she got at home 5 months afterwards, being at home, that's when I started realizing, oh, this is really her norm, right? Like she's gotten so far, but she's gonna have limitations, and this is where my new mom's gonna be. And I think that's when I went into, okay, what is her new life gonna look like? What does our new family life need to support her? I think it's just realizing that you did have a change in responsibilities with your loved one, and finding a way to work on that guilt of having a relationship with these new responsibilities, I guess, or this change of role, or this addition of a new role that you're gonna be playing. I think the earlier I could have explored that and knew that the guilt was in a sense normal, at least with the interactions of other caregivers I meet, the earlier that you can acknowledge that would show up, I think the more you can try to address it and handle it and find solutions for yourself so it doesn't eat you up, and it doesn't emotionally burn you out. Because I think what happened with me was not realizing this was normal, like this guilt comes up, but knowing that I wanted to, and in one sense, lack of better word, quote, needed to be there. When the guilt kind of came up, I felt bad. Like I felt like I was being a really bad sister or daughter. It wasn't until I realized caregiver guilt is normal, right? And most caregivers go through this. Is how do you then arm yourself with? How do I arm myself with a better way to cope with it, and a better way to kind of internalize, talk about it, or talk to myself about it, or address it? I think the biggest thing is for outsiders and you, the internal caregivers, is that person can become someone that is not the person you know. When they're acting in that state or those states, arming yourself with much as possible the technical information of why the brain and why PTSD can do to someone, and remembering that, like if they're acting violent towards you or saying things to you that are not the nicest, relying back on that technical knowledge and really making sure you informed yourself and stay on top of what that really is, to try to help remember that it's not them and they're not attacking it to you. I would say, well, it's kind of two things in one. Find your caregiver community support group. This group is uniquely different, I feel like, than even if you have friends or family, because two things. I think the fact that they're detached from the situation in a way can be helpful, but also because they are on their own caregiving journey or have been. Just knowing that you have that community to rely on emotional support, or an area that you can just have where you can just talk and say whatever you need without being judged. And also the abundance of knowledge and resources that hands-on they have gone through or interacted or been able to leverage or been able to find, or went through their own headaches, not finding, does that make sense? And finding out afterwards.
Yep.
I think that would be the thing, because you should be open to help, and you will need help to make sure you're able to take care of yourself and be a caregiver. And I think that's where this group can help in all those multiple dimensions. Not as niche, I would say, for caregiving, the AARP caregiving resources have been very helpful. They do national resources. There are certain geographical cities or state that do local kind of community meetups and meetings or informational sessions. And then they also have a Facebook group. I think in the case of caregiving, usually it's a situation where you see your loved ones not in as good of a state, right? So that makes it even harder because the new norm not only includes the new day-to-day kind of life that you're gonna be interacting with, but it's also going forward, how your journey will be different. But it also includes you grieving along with that new role and being a caregiver, your new relationship with the person that needs the care, right? Like in my mom's case, she physically was there. And there's moments that she still to today that I see really minimal moments throughout the day that is my mom. But that new relationship is along with that caregiving. And I think that's the hardest part as well, on top of the logistics stuff. And even someone that's caregiving for someone that's not like my mom's situation, because I caregive for my dad who was fighting stage 4 colon and liver cancer. My dad was more there, but that person is also new dynamic because they're going, so I think it's, to answer your question, I don't want to say it's just a new norm of the day-to-day responsibilities and the day-to-day schedule, but it's more about knowing that your journey of life with this person is new, and then to some degree your life will be changed. I think it's accepting and embracing that's hardest, but you add on top of that is the relationship part. While you're caregiving in whatever degree or aspect, that relationship, wanting to maintain it and working with the required or the, in a sense, forced changes, I think can become very challenging together. Allowing yourself, however way you can, to give yourself a self-care day or hours in a level of schedule that your care intensity needs. So it's hard because it took me a while to get here. Like I was feeling so guilty and feeling like I shouldn't. But really, when I realized, when I am able even just to take a full hour, couple hours away from her, I'm able to do the role of caregiving for her much better than if I continue to just push through. So I do schedule, I do be mindful of, in a sense, forcing that to be on my schedule. And then having the conversations to get her other kids to help, even though I know they cannot handle her on a regular basis. I just say, like, conversation is, I need you to be here for like half a day. Like if I don't get this half a day, I'm not going to be able to do this. So I think being able to handle that guilt, have those conversations with yourself to be able to confidently say you're not doing anything wrong to need that.